Hi folks, welcome to Sci-Fi Scavenger, my booktube channel, where I pick over the bones of other people's discarded science fiction. Welcome back if you're a regular, and a special welcome if you are here for the first time, and if you are, why not subscribe while you're here. So today we're going to do a book haul video, and this one is going to be exclusively vintage / vintage-ish books, which is very exciting. So a few weeks back I mentioned that I had the brainwave of putting a wanted ad out on the local free listings pages for people, things that people want to give away. So I just wondered if people had science fiction on their shelves. And a couple of weeks back I scored just a very small haul, a Hal Clements book, a very small, quite old, quite obscure, I think, anthology collection of short stories. And then I didn't hear anything for a couple of weeks. And then a few days ago, I got an email from somebody via the site, which essentially said, I've got a bunch of science fiction that you can have. It's quite old and dusty, but you're very welcome to it. And my little vintage antennae started twitching, so of course I said, yes, I'll very happily take those off your hands. So this little haul is almost all the result of that, with a couple of exceptions that I'll make clear as we go through them. This has cost me £0, so it's free vintage science fiction. It is a little bit old and dusty, but quite a lot of it's in pretty good condition, at least as far as the covers are concerned. And for £0, one can't be too picky. So I'm going to go through it. There's a couple of exceptions. There's essentially three authors in this haul. There's quite a big pile of Harry Harrison, and then there is a smaller pile of Isaac Asimov, and then a bunch of Robert Heinlein. Some of the Asimov, or a couple of the Asimovs I already have, one of the Heinleins I already have, and one of the Harrisons I already have. But mostly, not duplicates, mostly fresh for my collection, which is awesome. Okay, so let's do it. So the first one on the Harrison pile is Skyfall, which I actually already have. Oh, should have got that earlier. So it's an exact copy. It's the same edition, except that the new one that I've just been given is in actually better condition. Not a lot better, but you know, it's less creased, less scuffed. You know, the pages are in similar condition. So I will discard or put back into circulation, more accurately, this one that I paid £1.99 for, and I'll keep this one that I paid £0 for. Can't argue with that. Free books. All right. So next Harrison on the list is the Stainless Steel Rat, kind of iconic. Everyone has probably heard of the Stainless Steel Rat. I've never read any Harrison. My next door neighbour, when I was growing up as a kid, you know, sort of aged 10 to 15 or so, was a mad Harry Harrison fan, particularly the Stainless Steel Rat, and he read them all. But he was never able to convert me, and Stingy Git never lent me his books, so I never read any of them at the time, and I still haven't. I have the impression, and that's all it is, because like I say, I haven't read anything, that it's kind of pulpy, aimed at a younger audience, but I really don't know. So I mean, it's not a huge investment in time to whip through that. It's 150 pages. So I will hit that at some point. And then we've got another one, quite cool picture on the front, nice big space station there, Planet of the Damned. Don't know anything about that, but it's in pretty good condition. The spine's a little bit creased, and you know, it's a bit faded where the sun's hit it at the back there. But the cover art, which is the most important thing after all, is in really good condition. And then we've got Prime Number, which has both a spaceship and an enormous pair of sunglasses. I don't think those are to scale. It's either a very small pair of sunglasses or a planetary scale pair of shades. I'm not sure. I think it's more likely to be that they are two different things and they aren't to scale. Disappointingly, planetary scale sunglasses as part of some kind of Dyson sphere arrangement would be quite interesting. And then we have another one called One Step from Earth, which has got the tagline on the back, "A human love machine." So maybe that's a bit saucy. Who knows? And then we've got another Harrison, War with the Robots. Again, cool picture on the front. It's in pretty good condition, pretty clean on the spine. There's a bit of creasing, but nothing too drastic. And the back is not faded at all. Happy days. The pages are pretty faded and yellowed. I kind of half wonder if the individual in this house either smokes or smoked at one point in the past, because they are slightly yellower than the normal that you get with vintage. But like I say, beggars can't be choosers. And then we've got, I'll do these as a double, why not? We've got Death World 1 and Death World 2. I don't know how many, no, my luck there's probably like 18 of them or something stupid in the series, but I certainly have the first two, so can't complain. Again, they don't make them like that anymore. Look at that cover art. And then the penultimate Harrison, I've forgotten what it's called. In Our Hands, the Stars. So I think that's a story of a new propulsion mechanism that could also be a weapon, sort of nuclear bomb style. And then the last one is Plague from Space, which has got a fancy futuristic ambulance on the front. Look at that. These are great, aren't they? Look at that. All the better for being completely free of charge to me. Right, we've got a couple of early-ish Anne McCaffrey. Let's see, just bear with while I check the publication date. This was published in 1969. This is a reissue in 1976. I initially thought that's a Decision at Doom, but it says Decision at Dooma, which is a Duna even, which is a planet, I believe. I've been a bit dismissive of Anne McCaffrey. I never really saw what the fuss is about, particularly the kind of Dragon Riders of Pern, which sounded like to me like it fell firmly in the fantasy bracket. But having read a bit more around Anne McCaffrey, I realised the error of my ways. They are firmly science fiction, not least because the dragons were genetically engineered by the population, so they weren't, they weren't dragons in the unicorn and princesses style. These were a weapon. Anyway, Decision at Doona is not in that series, but by the same person, obviously. And then we've got Dinosaur Planet, finally. That's the last of the McCaffreys in this haul. I do have a few more to come, which you'll see, more recent ones. To me, that looks like fun. So, onto the Asimovs. Now, there are a couple of duplicates here, so let's see if I can find them. Nightfall 2, Asimov's Mysteries, and we'll decide which one to keep. Let's do Asimov's Mysteries first. So, I actually don't know now which one I was just given and which one I already had from a couple of weeks ago that I bought. And it kind of doesn't matter. It's they're short stories. I think I described it previously as kind of Sherlock Holmes in space. Sherlock in space. But let's see which is the best one. I think it's this one, which I think, although I'm not completely sure, is the one that I was just given for Nout. So that one can go back in circulation. And then similarly, I was given Nightfall 2. Well, interestingly, they are slightly different. They have the same cover on them, the same cover art, but the format is different. So one of them will have been issued slightly later than the other. So now I've got a different decision to make. It's not which of them is in the best condition, it's which of them is the best. So that is, I think, a first edition paperback. And then this one. Well, on the basis that this was 50p and this was 30p when it was issued, this is a more recent one, so that can go back in circulation. I'll keep the first edition paperback from 1970. Why not? I'm missing Nightfall 1. I had it in the past, but got rid of it stupidly. So, but it'll turn up one way or another. And so a few more Asimovs, some of which I've never heard of. So. So let's find the first one. There's a little series going on here. Which one is it? Bear with. Yeah, okay. So Space Ranger is about a guy called David Starr, apparently, and there is a series of them, of at least 6, because I have books 1, 2 and 6 here. And I think they're pretty early on in Asimov's career. Yeah, published in 1952. so pretty much ancient. And this book is a 1975 preprint, 1975 reprint from New English Library. But again, look at that cover art, that's awesome. And then there's book 2, a very retro looking spaceship. Flash Gordon style, really, isn't it? But again, I don't know anything about these, never read them, never heard of them until I've just got them. Second book in the David Starr series. And then this is the slightly less exciting cover art, if I'm completely honest, but that's number 6. So I'm missing 3, 4 and 5 and potentially 8, 9 and umpteen. I really don't know how many are in that series. They're in pretty good condition. The spines are not overly damaged or creased. The front cover's in good nick. There is some fading on the rear where the sun's kind of caught the back there, and the text block is pretty yellow and nasty, but that's what you get for books that are 50 odd years old and have sat gathering dust on someone's shelf for most of that time probably. Still, can't complain. Especially as, not to go on about it, labour free. And then we've got what must be judging by the title, yes, short story collection, 9 Tomorrows, which has, guess what, 9 short stories in it. And although I have many Isaac Asimov short story collections, I don't have this one. So that's a result. And then my foundation, so this is one I don't think I got this in my box of free goodies. I think I paid for this. I saw it in an Oxfam or somewhere for £1 or £2. And it's a 1970s edition, I believe. Yeah, reprinted in 1973, so 50 years old. It's a Panther science fiction. It's in pretty good condition. The cover art's in great shape. A Chris Foss cover. And my foundation set is from, of which this is the second, is from, I would have thought the 1980s. Let's have a look. Yeah, mid-80s, 1986 this one. And I had these from new when I was a kid, and they were among the very few books that I kept. I don't know why, but I sold an awful lot of others for pennies. Painfully, when I think back on it, pennies would have bought me a few pints probably, which was the reason I sold them. I'm minded now to just look out for the rest of the Foundation series in this edition, those that are available anyway, in the Panther 1970s with the Chris Foss covers, because they're cool. But I don't think I'll get rid of these. I kind of attached to these sentimentally, and actually these are in really good condition. Well, because they're mine, I looked after them. But they're, the covers are perfect, and I've probably only read them once, so they're not damaged at all. There's no creasing on the spine, nor is there on this one. So I'm going to keep both of those, because they're sufficiently different, separated by a decade and a bit, and I will look out for the rest and build up, and damn the space it will need, another set of the Foundation books in that livery. I think I've got slightly worrying thing from the completist point of view is how many different covers are there for the Foundation series just in the UK, never mind around the rest of the world. And knowing my luck, I'm going to come across a different livery, and then I'm going to want a third or a fourth or a fifth set of all of them, and that's where it goes. Don't listen to me, children. It's a bad idea. Okay, all right. So let's move on to the Robert Heinleins. I don't have very many Heinleins, and I hear mixed things of it. I think it's kind of a Marmite kind of author. You either kind of like him or you don't. I think his politics were rather illiberal, and that kind of feeds its way into his writing, I believe. Okay, so let's start with the chunky ones first. So we've got I Will Fear No Evil, with a cool looking skull on the cover. Again, a bit of creasing on the spine, but nothing too drastic. And again, with the yellowing of the pages. So that's proper kind of used book. It was printed in 1973, a couple of years after it was initially published. So it's 50 years old, and in remarkably good condition. There's the same skull picture on the back too, so that is quite cool. And then we've got another thick one, Time Enough for Love, which I think is someone that lives with extreme longevity, thousands of years, if I remember rightly. I did a quick Google. But again, the front cover there and the rear cover are I was going to say that's a bit of sun, maybe that is sun fading actually. I thought it was just a continuation of the colour of the spine, but I think that is just sun fading. Perhaps the spine was originally purple and it's faded to that blue. Maybe the pigment's gone out of the ink. Again, it's a bit creased on the spine, but mustn't grumble. And then a title, at least, with which I'm familiar, is Stranger in a Strange Land, with some equal opportunities nudity on the front. I don't know anything about it particularly, but it is a kind of iconic title, so I should read it at some point. But again, it's in pretty good condition. It's obviously been well loved and read a few times. She did say that these books gave her and her husband a lot of pleasure. So I'm very happy to take on ownership of those for the next while. And then there are a few more thinner books, maybe older in his oeuvre. That is Have Spacesuit Will Travel, with a cool looking astronaut on the front. And then we've got Podkane of Mars. I have a feeling it's one of his early books, well maybe not his first, but one of his first few anyway. So that would be cool to read. I think, again, it's in very good condition, a bit of creasing on the spines, maybe been read once. Excellent addition to the collection. So this last one, actually it's not the last one, second last one of the Heinleins, is actually two for the price of one. It's got Waldo and Magic Inc. So those are two, it's a very thin book, so two novellas or fairly long short stories. Never sure where the boundary of those things is, but again, I think quite early in his career. And then the last one, there we go. So only a week or two ago, I picked up this movie tie-in edition of Starship Troopers, and I was a bit sniffy about it, saying that something better will come along. Inevitably it will. And then among the three books that this lady kindly gave me was a 4-square edition of Starship Troopers, which is from 1968, so well over 50 years old, 55 years old, and it's in really good condition. There's a bit of kind of shelf wear on the edges of the cover, but the cover itself is in great condition. The spine's in great condition. It's got one crease down the middle, nothing drastic, and the back's in good condition. And the pages, like all the others, are yellow and spotty and what have you, but it's much nicer than that one. I don't feel it. If this was not a movie tie-in, I might be inclined to keep both. But because that is a movie tie-in, and one is a bit snobby about movie tie-ins, that can go back into to the wild, along with the other duplicates. And I should keep this one, because why wouldn't you? Right, we're almost through with the vintage stuff now. So the last of the books which came with that free set is another duplicate. So Fred Hoyle, Black Cloud. Again, I think pretty iconic vintage sci-fi. Though I already have it, I only recently picked this up for £1 or £2 from a charity shop, which is a Penguin Modern Classics edition. Now I have another Penguin, but an older one. I think this was printed in 1975, whereas this one was printed in 2010. So that's very, within the last 10-15 years, and that one is pretty old. So I don't feel any great attachment to that one, so that can go back in the wild, and I shall keep this one. Away with you, it is gone. And then I'm including these simply because they're sort of vintage-ish, and although they were bought, I actually paid money for these on different occasions. So there's Larry Niven, Limits, which I believe is short stories. Yeah, a bunch of short stories, mixture of science fiction and fantasy. I haven't read any Larry Niven for a long time, but I read quite a few of his books when I was in my teens, and remember quite enjoying them sort of as a rollicking good ride. So I'm gradually reacquiring them. I never read this one, so short stories would be a good way to reintroduce myself. So that's a great addition. And then this one, this sort of stretches the definition of vintage really, but I've included it mostly because it's the same size and the same thickness, is Hitchhiker's Guide to the Galaxy, which is the copy, that the same livery as I had when I was a kid, and I've been looking for these. I have duplicates of most of the Hitchhiker's Guide series that already have two, so I now have 3 copies of this. So one is a US paperback edition. It's all right, nothing special. It's in quite good condition. And then a little hardback, which I think was issued. It's not quite a movie tie-in, but it was to surf on the wave of the movie being released a while back with the one with Martin Freeman in, I assume. So when was this printed? Boom, 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 boom. Yeah, 2005. And I think that was probably thematically correct humming from me as well. So I don't know. Do you know what? They don't take up much room. I'm going to keep them until I'm really squeezed for space, and the extra 2 that I don't really need would be enough to fit another book in. Then maybe I'll get rid of them. But for now, they have a stay of execution. Right, so that's all for this vintage set of books. Did you spot any that you read in that haul? Anything that you particularly recommend I should shove up my TBR pile? Anything that you think is a waste of time that I shouldn't bother reading or get rid of? I'd be equally interested to know that. But do let me know in the comments. I'd be very happy to hear from you, and I'll reply, of course, to everyone. But for now, thank you. There will be another haul video coming very soon, because I have not 2 but 3 bags of books down here that I really need to get on the shelves. So incoming! But for now, thank you very much. I appreciate you watching and staying right to the end. Subscribe if you haven't already, and hit the like button. And I'll be back soon with another video. Goodbye.